I think for a lot of anglers, it's just the act of being outside and being a little bit in solitude. For me, there's definitely like a therapeutic process with it. It allows me to just kind of be present in the moment the best that I can without being distracted by everything else that goes on in my daily life. It's the same thing I did as a kid, right? So it's kind of coming back to those roots that I already grounded when I was younger. My name is Amber Toner. I am an avid fly fisher and a photographer.
My name is Brendan Toner. I'm also an avid fly fisherman and fly tyer and instructor as well. Being able to share something with my family, with my friends, I have a lot of friends who do it as well, so it's really nice to go out there, be outdoors. Yeah, it's just an escape for me, a way for me to get outside.
I think a lot of people don't realize that trout are pretty good indicators of the water that they live in. So if the population isn't doing as well, there's probably some issues happening right in the background that's affecting them. And if it's affecting them, it's affecting kind of the entire ecosystem. It's affecting, the bugs that they eat, the plants, the native plant species that live on the banks of the river. So it's important to conserve that as best you can. And even though you're, playing a fish and you're doing all these things that could potentially harm the fish, like we understand that, it's still important to do it as minimally as possible, to practice those safe handling techniques and make sure that fish is swimming off and can be caught again, because catch and release does work. We've caught many of the same fish over and over again throughout
Absolutely.
The years.
Yes.
So yeah, it's definitely a very important piece, and a lot of anglers are really passionate about that. And I think it's just a really important opportunity. If you see someone doing something that you don't agree with how they're handling a fish per se, it's an opportunity to kind of educate them positively and hope to make that change as they progress in their angling career. I think probably it's a relationship of both respect and protection with these fish, because for me, I just had such fond memories as a child and experiencing those things, and just not even just the fish themselves, but just the practice of being outside and how good that is for my mind. So I think there is a little sense of respect there, and having to make sure that you're treating the areas that you're going the best that you can. You're leaving them as they were when you get in there and when you exit. So and that includes the fish, right?
Yeah.
So making sure you're picking up your garbage and doing all that kind of stuff. So
It's a big relationship with fish. I talk to them. When I have them in my hands, I talk to them. I'm like, how you doing? Thanks, buddy. It's okay. We'll get you back in as quickly as we can. And yeah, it's funny. It's almost like they're a member of your family, right? It's like
true,
you're like, you talk to them, you want to take care of them and make sure they're released properly. It's a wild relationship.
Well, it's pretty wild to catch a living thing and have it in your hands like that. You're responsible for it for those few seconds and then have it released back into the water, hoping to catch it again. It's definitely an interesting experience.
It is. Yeah, It is. Like, how often do we say, like, pretty lucky?
Yeah,
when we
I mean,
go out
Alberta's
there, that's
one
a
of-
very common thing for us to say, like, man, we're lucky.
We are.
Super lucky to be out
100%.
here.
We have some of the most beautiful fisheries and landscapes in the world. As a little girl growing up on the Sheep River, seeing how much has changed, not just from flooding impacts, from development, even going up to the mountains when they were doing, like on the eastern slopes by the Old Man, the Upper Old Man watershed, seeing all the survey roads they were building, and then all obviously logging. There's been a monumental change in how not only the scene looks in the last 15 years, but also just how the fish are, the kind of fish that we're catching, how, like, even our native trout, how their populations just aren't quite where they were years before. And especially for me with bull trout, that's probably the biggest noticeable difference. And we're not seeing populations at what they were not even close to even 10 years ago.
Absolutely.
15 years ago. So I've seen a massive shift, which is alarming when you think about it. And that's not that long of a time frame. So I think about when Lachlan is an adult, like, is he going to experience those things like I did?
She mentioned bull trout. Like, we used to go for fish for bull trout as kids as well. And we would go out and target them. There was so many that you just was like, wow, that's incredible. And now we just don't do that anymore. We don't go fish for bull trout anymore.
No,
The numbers
not
aren't there. We
specifically.
just don't target them anymore, right?
I think there's a lot that could be done. I think the whole native trout recovery program is a great first step in
Yes.
getting all of these organizations together for the betterment of the fishery. But there's obviously things that could be done, like changing some of the regulations for angling and to deal with the amount of angling pressure. There's certain things that could be done that have been beneficial in other provinces that could be applied here in Alberta that I think would help the fisheries. But for now, really all you can do is just talk about them, spread that kind of education and awareness, and hope that it helps a little bit.
Once I actually hit the water, I feel like I'm at home, calm, at peace. I feel more like myself, like I'm meant to be there, and honored that I can be there, that I have that privilege to do that. I'm Keith Palmeria. I am an angler. I also am part of the Calgary Women's Fly Fishers Club. What I love about fishing is it takes me out of whatever's going on in my life completely, and I only focus on everything that's around me because the pursuit is the fish. You're so focused, you're dialed in, you're really just like enmeshed with the environment. Like, in comparison to a lot of my friends, I would say that I'm a relatively new angler. In order to get a fish fly fishing, you really have to tune in to everything. So like, what does the water look like? Where do I think the fish is? How cold is it? Is this the right fly? What bugs are hatching around me? So I literally have to take everything around me and only think about that. When I'm part of the Calgary Women's Fly Fishers group, this community of like female anglers, it's like strength and empowerment, just knowing that like I can go out there without being like guided by somebody, and I can find my own adventure and find the fish. What I get out of it essentially is a lot of friendship, community, strength, and just like the pursuit of fish, trying to like get to know this place that I live in, that I live, work, and play in, and know it more intimately. I care about fish because when I look at them, I just see how beautiful they are and like how complex they must be because they're different. Every single fish you pick up is different. Every time I come in contact with fish or see a fish, I'm just like, thank you. Thank you for giving me this moment, for allowing me this opportunity to be outside and look for you and just say hi. And whenever you catch a fish and release it back into the water, it's like you're giving the river a handshake. You're saying, thank you. I think it's important to care for trout in their habitat because if trout are there, that means that that water is still healthy. And we as Albertans rely on this water to live. As a community of women that really care about the outdoors, I think to people that don't necessarily care about it as much as we do, maybe just out of not knowing, go outside and look at this place. And I know that once you get out there, you'll know that it's a beautiful spot. Think about what happens when it's gone and like how much work it would probably take to maybe even get to a fraction of what it looks like now. I want to give that to my kids one day. I want to take them out and share this really special thing that I cherish and be able to provide that for generations further. And so we won't be able to do that if we keep going the way that we are.